Hi, and welcome to another episode of Word Mentality on Grammar and Thongs, where we look at the origin of words. And today I'm looking at some of the names for the months of our year, particularly September through to December. Now, we have to go back to the Roman calendar to see the origin of these words, and that means the language we're dealing with is Latin. And often when you look at words that have their roots in Latin, we find there are other words in our language that have the same root. So a good example of this is October, which comes from the Latin octo, which means 8. And of course, if we think of our word for octopus, you can see why it's called that, because it has 8 legs. December is another good example. It comes from the Latin decem, which means 10, and it's where we get words like decade for 10 years, decathlon for an event that has 10 sections to it, an athletic event, and of course decimal for a system of counting or mathematics with the base unit of 10. September is a little less obvious, but it comes from the Latin septem, which means 7, and it's where we get words like septuplets. If you're a septuplet, you're one of 7 babies born. And November we get from the word in Latin novem, which means 9. And so when you look at it this way, it makes sense that the 7th month is called September, and then the 8th October, and so on through to December. But if we look at a calendar, it doesn't seem to make sense, because why are we calling the 10th month of our calendar October after a name that has strong links to 8? Well, to understand why, we need to understand that the original calendar these names came from started in March. Okay, so the Roman calendar, in that part of the world, March was springtime, and that's when their calendar started. So if you have that as your first month, then when you go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, suddenly September makes sense as 7, October is the 8th month, November is the 9th, and December, the last month of the year, is the 10th month. There were actually only 10 months in that calendar. January and February were added later, and while this explanation helps with the names of these months, it doesn't help with March, April, May, June, July and August. So I'll have to get back to that at a later date. Thank you.